We're going to be talking about inland shrimp farming on this video. And let me give you a little quick history of inland shrimp farming in Alabama. It started back in 1999 with two producers. And one producer had a pond that didn't work out right, so we had to concentrate on a second pond. And both these ponds were over in Greene County. And we found out that with our inland shrimp water, our well water, our highly saline water, that shrimp would actually grow in this water. The shrimp were grown at about 2 grams per week, which is considered very good in the shrimp industry. The producer ended up harvesting 1,500 pounds of shrimp in this 1 acre pond. And the survival was real poor. We weren't concerned at that time about the survival. We were just kind of impressed that, hey, shrimp would grow in this salty water we have in West Alabama. So the next year, we stocked ponds again and started looking at why these shrimp weren't surviving very well. And since then, we've come up with some really good recommendations on how to improve our production, how to improve survivability. The species that we use for inland shrimp farming are Pacific white shrimp, Lithopenaeus vanemi. This is a tropical animal that we're raising in a temperate environment. These shrimp will die when water temperatures get below 55 degrees, which usually occurs about mid-October in central Alabama. Since 1999, our shrimp acreage has gone up to about 100 acres and has come back down to about 80 acres. So we're holding now at about 80 acres of water. And we currently have about 5 producers. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Dickie Odom. Dickie was one of our pioneers in the shrimp business. He started with Rafe Taylor back in 1999 with trying to see whether or not shrimp would actually grow in our inland salt water. And since then, he's come a long ways. He's actually built more ponds and really expanded his acreage. And I'm going to let Dickie explain to you his particular acclimation procedures and the equipment that he uses. Dickie?
Thank you, Greg. Well, we're here on 2 new ponds that I've just built. I do things a little different. Everybody's got a way of doing it. I recommend on your farm that you do what works for you, and this is what's worked for me in the past. What we're doing here, and I think it's been explained, but this is some very unusual weather we're having right now. I've never had 70-degree water in the middle of May, and it's tough on these PLs. There are a number of different ways to acclimate shrimp. I acclimate mine in tanks on the pond dams. These are 700-gallon tanks. We've got them covered, trying to retain some heat. The temperature in these things earlier this morning was about 68, which is nowhere near optimal. We'd like to have about 85. But regardless, we got to deal with this weather. And these are 700-gallon tanks. We stock approximately 125,000 PLs per tank. It's ideally, it's about 25 per liter is what you ought to stock. We're supplying these tanks with air, and we're also introducing pond water at the same time to acclimate these things down to our local salinity, which is about 5 parts per thousand. For this shipment, I received my shrimp from Florida in airbags and styrofoam coolers. Probably the second best way to get them. Probably in totes is the best way, but I did this because with airbags, we've got a known number of shrimp in the bag. They're easy to distribute. You don't have to worry about counting. You can get them in your tanks a little quicker. This particular time, we had a little tough time with the acclimation, and we did a little something wrong, and we've had some mortality. What we're going to have to do now, and we're going to do this tomorrow when this weather gets a little warmer, we're going to get in here and we're going to try to tell how many shrimp we got survived. And what we'll have to do, we'll just have to count these things, come up with some kind of percentages, and determine what we've got, and then we'll take those numbers and start stocking whole ponds. And then we'll reorder some PLs and stock the balance of the ponds. At this point, I can't tell you what the survival is. Could be 25 or 50%. I don't think it'll be any better than that. But that's part of this shrimp farming. All right, what we're doing now is we're introducing pond water. The PLs are shipped to us from the hatchery in Florida at approximately 15 parts per 1,000 salinity. So what we have to do, we have to take sea salt and make 15 parts per 1,000 salinity to receive them in these tanks. And then there's sort of a regimen here to acclimate these things down. Right now, this is pond water coming into the tanks. So we're reducing that salinity. We're going to bring it down, the salinity in the tanks to the salinity in the ponds. So that's the acclimation process. And there's a process here that's, I guess, you can take them from about 15 parts per 1,000 to the 10 pretty quick. But from 10 to 5, you need to be pretty careful with it and scatter it out over a couple of days before you get them all the way down to the 5, which is in our ponds, which is our natural salinity. Once we do that, of course, we're feeding these guys at this water temperature about every 4 hours. And we're feeding a 300 to 600 micron size commercial feed. If the weather were a little warmer, I'd be hatching Artemia for them. But my Artemia hatching apparatus down there is in open air, and it's just too cool to hatch them. And I'll fix that before next year, and I'll have them enclosed where I can control temperature and hatch them when I want to. I think Artemia are a good supplement. You need. When I can, I like to feed one feeding of Artemia, one feeding of commercial feed, and that's worked for me in the past. And once we get these guys acclimated down to our local salinity, if you can see it here, we got some pipes that just drain. These things are just overflowing. And then when we get ready to release, now some folks suggest that you should count these things before they go out. Now I try to make life as simple as possible on my farm. And what I do is if I feel like I've got a good acclimation, in other words, when I put the PLs in here and I see very low mortality, I'm going to assume they're there. Now a good farmer will probably go and try to count them and know they're there. But I'm probably not a good farmer. But if I'm comfortable the shrimp are here now, when we've got acclimated, then I'll just release them into the ponds. I'll pull the plug on them, and they'll go straight out the pipe. We'll have somebody hold that pipe so the shrimp don't hit the bottom and get beat up, released into good open water. And we'll do that either early in the morning or late in the afternoon. We don't want to do it in bright sunshine and that kind of stuff. And once we get them released, it's just a matter of growing them at that point. Probably the next most difficult thing to do besides acclimation, and of course this is the real critical part, but the next critical part is knowing how to feed them. So what we'll do from this point on is we'll sample when we feed once a week. I'll sample once a week to determine what I want to feed. And if they're growing at 1.5 to 2 grams a week, we'll maintain the amount of feed we're feeding. If we're not getting that kind of growth, we got to assume that we're not feeding enough, and we'll step that up. And I know this is going to be another topic, but the acclimation process is the tedious process. It's the one that determines whether you've got a crop of shrimp for the fall.
It's time to harvest shrimp, and I'm going to let Mr. Dickie Odom explain the process.
We're here today to harvest a pond. And this particular pond here is about 1.8 acres. We've got it down probably to about 40% of the water. And now's the point when we start really catching the shrimp. This crew here is, the shrimp don't want to go through this pipe. We're pushing these shrimp through this pipe down into this catch basket back here. And when we get 200 or 300 pounds of shrimp in there, we'll lift it, get a weight on it, and drop them over here in these ice totes and pack them in ice. From there, we'll carry them up here to the shrimp barn we've got, and we'll wash them, clean them up, and repack them in ice and get them ready for sale for the weekend. And if we don't get these shrimp, if we don't help them go through this pipe, we'll wind up with all these animals in a couple of foot of water, and they'll die on us. So we want to harvest these shrimp as this pond comes down, and keep us from getting all our crop in that one little hole of water. So as we're pulling down, once again, we're just pushing these shrimp, helping them through the pipe to keep them getting in that situation where we kill them. We've got We don't know what kind of production we'll have on this pond yet. As a rule, we run 3,000 to 4,000 pounds per acre, and I think this one's going to be close to that. The size on these animals right now looks like about 20 per pound, maybe 18. And when we get through harvesting, we'll all move up here and get all these shrimp ready for sale. Start selling tomorrow, and we'll sell for 3 days. And hopefully we got a good crop, and we'll have a lot of people, and we sell a lot of shrimp. Now, I don't know what else to tell you at this point. This is pretty simple. It's kind of, it's not real technical here. Just a little back-breaking work here. But these guys are good at getting these shrimp, and we'll have this harvest done, I hope, by mid-afternoon. From the time he's harvested down there, we don't ever want him to get warm again. We're going to keep him cold until he's sold. And by doing that, we'll maintain that quality of shrimp that I don't think you can buy anywhere else. Those shrimp we've just took a count on, they're about 18 to the pound, and it's as good as you can get. And then I don't know what else I can tell you about that. But this is where we sell at when we get busy. Well, this past weekend we sold 9,000 pounds of shrimp right here, and that took hundreds of people to do that. We're talking about most sales run 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds. So you can do the math and see how many people it takes to do that. We've had a lot of people come through here, and they come from every direction to buy these shrimp. You can't buy this anywhere else. We're real proud of our shrimp. We put a lot of work into them, and we eat them, and we want them good, and we want you to have them good.
Dickie, we're here, and I think the first important fact we need to talk about is the process of thawing our shrimp. Let's say we've been to your farm, we've purchased our shrimp, we've brought them back to our homes, we've deheaded them, which a lot of people do. Some people choose to do that, some people don't. And we've cleaned them, we've frozen them, and we're ready to cook them. What do you think the first thing we should do is?
We got to thaw them out.
All right, and what do you suggest?
Well, certainly you don't want to thaw shrimp in any kind of temperate water.
Okay.
Thaw them in cold water. Some people leave them in the refrigerators overnight for 24, 36 hours.
Good.
But don't thaw them with hot water, because that's cooking them.
That's right.
So when you get them, I take mine and go to the sink with them, and then I just spray cold water over them in a colander.
Well, let's do that now.
Until they get room temperature.
Let's do that now. We'll put them in the colander.
You get a little extra clean in here too, because that shouldn't take but a few minutes spraying them over with the wand there, and get them down to near room temperature, and then we'll take those guys and get them in this boiling water over here and see if we can't make lunch out of it.
Okay, let's do that. We've got our water boiling. I'm going to go ahead and take the top off of it. I think at this point it's real important that we talk about seasonings. I always like to add a little salt to mine. Let me just pour that in. We'll salt our water. Now, Dickie, I'm not a cook that measures real well. I'm usually one that just kind of throws things in. We're going to put in 1 package of crab oil.
Now, everybody got to remember, this is the way that we cook them. You cook to your own taste.
Exactly.
But it's just my ideas here.
Exactly. I like to add just another little tablespoon of liquid crab oil just to give them a little extra kick. We'll go ahead and pour that in. What do you think, 3?
That ought to be plenty.
All right, that ought to be good. Okay. Sometimes I squeeze a little lemon juice. Would you like to squeeze the fresh lemon in there?
Yeah, I look like you're doing a pretty good job.
Oh, okay. All right.
My specialty is not cooking, mine's eating.
We'll do that. What about a little kick of Tabasco?
It'll give it a kick.
All right, just a little kick.
Once again, this is seasoned to taste. This is just the way we do it.
I think it's real important to talk about now our cooking time. It is so important that we do not overcook these shrimp. What happens when we overcook shrimp, Dickie?
They're going to get tough.
They're going to get tough.
You got to remember, these are farm-raised shrimp. They have a tendency to cook fast. Be careful. Don't overcook. Now, at home, I take these shrimp when I bring this water to a rolling boil, and then we dump them in. These guys are already thawed. They're near room temperature. We put just enough water in there to cover the shrimp, and then when we dump them in there in a rolling boil, I start looking at my watch.
All right, well, let's go ahead and do that. Oops. I'm trying not to splash you, Dickie. I know this water's hot.
Yeah, it's steaming me a little bit.
Okay, we've got it back to a rolling boil. We'll cover the top back on.
All right, now at this point, I don't look at the shrimp. Might stir them a couple of times, but what I do is I look at my watch. And when I get somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes, probably on this side shrimp about 4 minutes, but we're going to take them out of here. We're going to get them in a colander and get them back over here and start cooling them.
Okay.
And while we're doing that, Patty, I'm going to move these shrimp over here to this other bowl, and so we'll have this colander to cool in.
Well, I tell you what, let me get a clean colander. We need to make sure we don't use one that has had raw shrimp. We need to not cross-contaminate. So I have a clean colander right here.
That's a good idea.
I'll just rinse it out. Do you think I need to stir again, Dickie?
That wouldn't hurt to stir them
Okay.
one time. Kind of take a look at them. They're already turning pink. They're getting close.
How many minutes have we been?
We've been about 1.5 minutes right now.
Okay. Dickie, I think our shrimp have been cooking long enough. Let's check them.
Patty, we're getting mighty close. I believe we're there.
All right.
We've been cooking now about between 3 and 4 minutes. That's perfect for these shrimp. These guys are roughly about 25 count shrimp, so we need that a little extra cooking, like 4 minutes or less. So I believe we're there. If we want to start that cooling process, we'll do it now.
Okay, I'll take them up and pour them.
I'm going to hold that for you. If you'll hold there, we'll get them in this colander and get that hot water off of them.
All right.
Y'all be real careful with this, folks. This hot water will get you.
All right, I'm going to pull the little bag out.
And I'm going to let that little bit of water that's in the sink, hot water, drain out from off the sink there.
Okay.
And then we'll start icing these guys.
All right, and if you'll do that.
All right, I'm going to get some ice on if you'll start spraying them down.
All right, we can do that.
We got to stop this cooling.
Sure.
Every minute that these shrimp are in here cooking or got hot water on them, they're temperate. They are cooking.
They are cooking.
So we got to stop this cooking process, and we're going to do it with this ice and this tap water here.
Okay.
And probably a couple of minutes of this, and you'll have your shrimp nice and cool and ready to eat.
Okay, sounds great.
After we get them sprayed there a little bit, I think we just set them in the sink there, Patty.
Okay.
And I'm going to put a little more ice on top of them. Give those guys about a minute or two, and they'll be ready to eat.
They look great, Dickie.
They are pretty. We worked mighty hard to get them to this point.
I know you did. Well, Dickie, these shrimp are cool. Let's take them over here and put them on a platter, and we'll get ready to eat them.
Making me hungry looking at them, Patty. I think folks need to remember it's pretty important, real important, that from this point on, the shrimp need to stay cold.
Exactly.
And if you'll do that, the shrimp that you may not use, you can put in your refrigerator and keep for 2 or 3 days. So personally, I like them better the second day for some reason or other. I like to put them in a Ziploc and keep them in the refrigerator and just kind of graze on them for the next couple of days. They seem to get better and better.
We do this at our house a lot. We'll make shrimp salads and we enjoy when we cook probably 10 pounds at a time, and it feeds my family probably good 2 meals.
We talked about it a while ago. There's so many ways to do this. And you got something that's going to last 2 or 3 days if kept cool properly. You can do all those things. You have all those options. We find out at my house when we cook them, they don't last long enough to get into that second, third day.
I bet. Okay.
But that's a pretty platter of shrimp.
That is a beautiful platter of shrimp.
If you're gonna leave on that platter very long, you need to bed them in some ice or something just to keep them cool. But these are, you can see they're steaming just a little bit, but we're real close to being good and chilled, and that's the way I like them, Patty. I like them good and cold myself. Some people cook them with head on now. We hadn't talked about that. But and there's some argument there that the head on shrimp provides more seasoning. We hadn't talked about that. But it's to taste, whatever you like.
Sure.
Personally, this is the way I like them.
Me too, Dickie. You ready to try some?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, well, our cooks have done a great job showing us how to cook shrimp. Basically, if you know how to boil water, you can cook shrimp. Just don't overcook them. And after all this work, we're going to go ahead and sample what we've got here. And let me just show you real quickly how I peel a shrimp. Some folks may not know how to do this. I take the first shell off, like so, and I squeeze the base right here, and sometimes it'll come on off, but you might have to do a little bit more peeling. And then you squeeze that base like that, and the rest of it will come off. And then I like to dip it in the sauce and enjoy. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Dick.
Thank you, Greg, for inviting
Greg.
us.
Appreciate you having us. Hope everybody enjoys these shrimp.
Hello, we're here today with Neil Ravina. He is a current chef at Miss Melissa's in Moundville. Before he was a chef there, he was the former director of the Culinary Arts program at Shelton State Community College. And Mr. Neil is going to show us a pretty exquisite way of producing, of cooking these shrimp. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Neil.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about this dish that we're going to do today. We're going to use these great Alabama farm-raised shrimp. What I've done is I've skewered them, and then I've put them on a grill for just a little bit of a minute, just to get some taste on them. They're not fully cooked. They're partially cooked. The reason I put them on the grill, as you may know or may not know, these shrimp don't have a lot of taste. We have to add flavor to these shrimp. And as a chef, there's many different ways to add flavor to things. One is using fat, another one is using citrus, another one is using maybe some vinegars and some spices. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start with melting some butter. But before we get into that, let me show you the ingredients that are going in this dish. This dish is a roasted red pepper and rosemary shrimp, and keeping with the theme of Alabama like we do at the restaurant, we're serving it on Alabama goat cheese grits. So let's start the process of cooking the shrimp. We're using unsalted butter. Like I said before, these shrimp need a lot of flavoring added to them. But because they're a very, very good product, you don't want to mess up the flavor by adding salt that has iodine in it. So I prefer to use sea salt or kosher salt. You want to be very careful not to scorch your butter, not to have the butter burn, not to have it brown, because the shrimp are only going to be in the butter just for about a minute or so. The first thing we'll do with this butter is add our flavorings to it. We're going to make a flavor combination that is going to go into the shrimp as if they were little sponges. The dish is called roasted red pepper and rosemary. That's what the shrimp should taste like. So I've taken these red peppers and grilled them. You can see these nice grill marks on them. And it releases all of these oils. We're going to put that into here. All of those oils are going to mix with our butter and start a little flavor fest here in the pan. And you'll be able to see that that butter will start to turn orange. That's from the roasted red pepper. Let's take our fresh rosemary, which is plentiful year-round. And we also want to cut or break our rosemary because that releases the oils and the flavoring. And we want that to get infused in our butter. And again, be careful not to let your butter burn. Now, if this burns, don't try and save it. You're going to want to throw it out and start all over again. Now that if you look at this butter that's in here, it's a nice orange color and it has all that nice flavoring in it. We'll take our shrimp off the skewer, add it to our butter. We'll add a little bit of fresh ground pepper and kosher salt, and we'll just toss this shrimp in it. Now you see how the butter adheres itself to the shrimp. That's exactly what we're looking for, because those shrimp are porous and they're going to absorb all of those flavors from the butter that we just did. Now, I don't know any restaurant that doesn't serve a little bit of lemon with shrimp. We certainly do down at our restaurant in Moundville. So we're going to take a little lemon and squeeze some fresh lemon juice into this. And as you can see, the lemon juice begins to evaporate and it makes the flavors concentrated. So now you're going to have lemon, you're going to have rosemary, you're going to have roasted red pepper. We'll turn our heat off and bring our goat cheese grits out here. Now I know shrimp and grits is a staple in the South, and you can just dump this right over it, but I prefer to take the shrimp and stick them right in the sides like this. And if you think this is hot, it is. It's not a trick from the television. I've just been doing this long enough. Now it's very easy to overcook these. You want to be very careful not to cook your shrimp too much. As you know, they'll start to get a little bit tough. Now we'll take our butter, lemon juice, and red pepper and rosemary mix and go right over the top of this, just like that. We'll put a little color around the side. A nice piece of rosemary here. And a nice lemon wedge. And there you have saltwater aquifer, raised shrimp, Alabama goat cheese grits. It's a beautiful presentation. It can be done as an appetizer. It can be done as an entree. It's a beautiful holiday presentation with all of this. I mean, this actually could be a small pine tree. And then your lemons and your red peppers. And this is a dish that we serve at the restaurant and use locally grown shrimp for that.
I've been doing it since '99, and it still amazes me we can grow shrimp in the wrong part of the world. But ultimately, what I really enjoy is in the fall. I don't sell my shrimp to brokers or dealers or processors. I sell my shrimp to the public. And we have so much fun. People come, and we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people come buy our shrimp in the fall. And they enjoy it. I enjoy talking with them. They enjoy bringing the kids down here and visiting the farm and all that. And we just have a big time selling these shrimp. And that's probably more. I get more out of that than any of it. I enjoy growing them. It's a challenge. You know, you're not supposed to be growing shrimp here. This is the wrong place. But it amazes me. It amazes the folks that we can do it, and we grow a great product, a quality product, an excellent tasting product, and we're proud of it. The public's proud of it, and we all have a big time.